Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second day of ocean data training, which is titled Marine Data for Sustainable Development, Fair Care and Trust. I'm Dina Iparkina from the European Global Ocean Observing System, and I'm organizing this training together with Juana Jimenez from the Flanders Marine Institute, Alice Pohl, also from VLIS, and Ana Vitoria Teresa de Magalhães. Even though we worked for so many months together, I still cannot pronounce the full name. So Ana Vitoria is my dear help on this project, and she will be moderating today's day. So yesterday we had a great day, and we will hear more about this from Ana Vitoria on how this went, what we heard from you. We had great speakers, also very nice audience interactions. Nearly 230 participants joined, between 220 and 30 from over 50 countries. Today, I see the count is still rising. We are already 64, and I'm guessing there will be more joining in the minutes that come. So welcome, and here over to you, Ana Vitoria.
Thank you so much, Dina. I will start by sharing with you some slides and by presenting also some insights from yesterday. So as Dina said, we are a very international group, around 230 participants, mainly from several parts of the world. We see Europeans, but also people from other parts of the world. So we see France, Croatia, Italy, Spain, Indonesia, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, in a big number of participants. And this international group is also come from diverse backgrounds. So we all are from using also diverse types of data. You will see that because we brought that in the Mentimeter yesterday. But you are from marine ecology, marine conservation, aquaculture, marine biology, oceanography, fisheries. It means that you are also using different types of materials to create your research, different types of data sets, but also you need to implement the 3 principles that we brought yesterday to discussion. So as you might remember, one of the principles that we discussed was fair. So findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable data. And we also understood the importance of open science. So the importance of making data, again, findable, accessible, reusable, interoperable, but also the importance of enhancing transparency and collaboration in research. We also heard from CARE, so these indigenous data governance principles, and the importance to emphasize the control and ethical management of data, particularly if it comes from indigenous communities or indigenous knowledge. We also heard about this concept of data sovereignty, which is very important to keep in mind. And we were able, again, to listen from projects that are applying some of those concepts in the real world, such as the digital twin of the ocean, which is this high-resolution, multi-dimensional, and virtual representation of the ocean, EDITO 2. Today, you will hear a bit more about trust and also on the next days about the training. So trust is this transparency, responsibility, user focus, sustainability, and technology principles, which will highlight the need for building trust and a reliable system to foster confidence in science among the users, but also the stakeholders. We also heard yesterday about data accessibility. We heard from projects like EMODNet, Copernicus, the Sea DataNet, and also the importance of having access to marine data, and how those marine data services also support policy processes and EU directives, like the Marine Strategy Framework Directive, also known as MSFD, and the MSP Directive on Maritime Spatial Planning, as well other processes such as blue economy. we discussed it as a group, and we could understand that it's very important, this type of training that we are conducting, but the importance of having youth training, and the importance for youth to receive support from their institutions to apply the data principles in their daily work. We also heard from one of our speakers, Katrina Exter, that data does not belong to us. So it's important to take care of this data, especially if it's financed by public funding sources. We had some insights from you yesterday, especially from the Mentimeter that Anna conducted from the ECOPS. One of them, because she asked about you, which are the sources of data that you use? And in general, appeared many times in the Mentimeter that you replied that most of you go to those same sources for looking to data. So Copernicus, NOAA, EMODNet, Pangaea, OBIS, GBIF, journals, Google Scholar, citizen science projects, but also you might interview communities. You might also look for your data in research journals or look for databases such as Fishbase. The data types that this group looks for is also very different because we have here a huge diversity. So some of you are looking for bathymetry data, ocean currents, marine species, benthic biomass, but also on temperature, currents, fisheries, plastic pollution, coral growth, or traditional knowledge or socioeconomic data that might support your research, as well policy-related data. So your sources are as well different. We saw as well that the participants have some common challenges and needs. Some of them are regarding access and permissions because you might face paywalls, restricted data sets, or some data that is not often shared by institutions, but you need to follow your research. Data quality and usability was also another challenge that is encountered by you because in some cases you do not find the data with the resolution that you would like to use, or it's fragmented, or shows just parts of the figure that you are looking for, or it has inconsistent formats, or has missing metadata, or even is not present or is not usable. Knowledge gaps. So you might also find as a group some lack of guidance on data handling, on permissions, standardizations and sources. And we also saw that it's important for you to building the confidence and skills needed to apply those data principles proficiently. That's why this training that we are conducting has a lot of importance. And the training needs that you also identified. So it's important to have a clear guidance on the data standards, metadata, permissions, and workflows, and also more workshops and mentorship. Your key learning goals as a group is, of course, to improve data management, so collecting, storing, sharing, ethically handling this data, but also applying the principles in your day-by-day work. Analysis and interpretation, so transforming marine data into actionable insights for policy conservation and sustainability. Access and tools, using open access data sets such as GIS, remote system, and integrated platforms. Communication and outreach, so visualizing and communicating data for education, advocacy, community engagement, or also translating this data to a specific target group. So the day of tomorrow will be an important day if for you that is looking for this type of data communication, but also data visualization. And career development, so building skills and networks and experience for research, policy, and marine-focused careers. So today we have this program. Dina opened the agenda for us. We now will listen in a few minutes from Margarita Lopez from the Decade Coordination Office on data sharing. Later, we will hear from Rita Novo, who is from the Flanders Marine Institute, Vlies, and she will speak about fair data by design. We will also learn from Professor Hugo Sarmento, who was present on this AtlantECO project, was an EU-funded project, and he will bring also some important concepts on how to use fair data, avoiding, for example, parachute science. And later we will hear from Juana Jimenez, who was also present on the organization of this training. So the day of today, our program will explore how marine data is shared globally, highlighting mainly collaborations across Europe, but also in European initiatives and international initiatives, showcase effective data management plans with practical guidance on sharing, applying, and following the FAIR concept and open science principles. We also see a bit of trust and care, showcasing innovative tools and projects, including smarter approaches to data collection and management through the European tracking network. And also, we will have an interactive debate by the end of the day, where you as a participants will be able to reflect, to bring questions as well to the speakers, and think about challenges and opportunities for turning marine observations into actionable knowledge. So I will stop sharing now, and I would like to call to present Margarita. Margarita holds a master in marine. Margarita Lopes Velosa from the Decade Coordination Unit on Data Sharing. She holds a master in marine environment and resources and a background in marine biology. She has worked extensively in marine conservation and science communication projects in Europe and Colombia. At the UN Coordination Office for Ocean Data Sharing, she supports the implementation of open, ethical, and sustainable data practices worldwide. So Margarita, welcome. We look forward to hear more from you.
Thank you, Anna, for your presentation. I just want to make sure first that you hear me correctly, and then I can start.
We hear you well.
Yeah, can you see my screen now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Good, perfect. I'll just... All right. So if you still see my screen, then I'm going to start. So thank you for the introduction, Anna, and for the invitation to present a bit on what we do at the Decade Coordination Office for Ocean Data Sharing. As Anna said, my name is Margarita, and today I'm going to present just some tips and general information on how to make a good and a great data management plan. Before I go into the practical tips and things, I just want to make sure that everyone understands what a data management plan is, or a DMP, since we love abbreviations in this area. So a DMP, it's a formal document that describes how you will manage your data throughout its life cycle. It's very important to say that this is a live document, so it shouldn't be just you doing it at the beginning and then forgetting about it, but it should be updated as changes and things go in your research, in your project. A DMP should be created before you get started in the project, but if you haven't done it or you don't have one yet, don't worry, because it can be created at any stage of the data lifecycle. So one brief overview of the data lifecycle, it's like the process that data has throughout like research in general. It doesn't have like one first step or what first stage, but it is like a continuous process. So we have from data collection to the storage, analysis, publishing, archival, then if you erase it or if you reuse your data for further research or other data from other people. And then some of the benefits that a DMP has is that it will increase the efficiency in your research, because it will allow you to plan ahead. If anything comes up, then you might be ready. then also increases data safety and storage, because you will have to think about possible scenarios of what happens if there's like an IT problem or something, and what's going to happen with your data. And then that will also minimize the risk of data loss, because we know data, it's quite hard to get, and it's not that easy, and it's costly also. So it's important to highlight that. And then it will also enable replicability of your research. It will increase the trust and ensure a legacy for your project. And just retaking a bit on what we discussed yesterday in the first sessions, it is one step in a plan to ensure that you fulfill fair care and trust across the whole data lifecycle. So I'm just going to briefly go into this, just to mention that there's more than just fair or findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And these are some of the things in this examples that you can take, or steps you can take to make your data really findable, really accessible, and interoperable and reusable. So why are data management plans important? So they not only are key role actors, or play key role in ocean observing systems, but they also support many other types of data. They also will allow you to plan which of the repositories you're going to submit your data to, which was also another issue that was identified yesterday in the Q&A session. And it will ensure that once you collect your data, it will have long-term storage and it will be long-term accessible. So that's also very important. And it, as I said, it applies not only to pure oceanographic data, but also to citizen science, for example. It is advisable to have a DMP, but also for socioeconomic and other types of data. So now I'm going to go a bit more deeper into what makes a good data management plan. So there are some tools that I'll show you in the last slide, but now I'll give you just some considerations that you will need to take into account in each of the stages of the DMP. So for the first three stages, which are collection, data storage or processing, and data analysis, you should keep in mind and add to your data management plan the methods that you're going to use for each of the stages, then the file formats that you will use. So yesterday we spoke about CVS, and then NetCDF, it's other type of format, or SQL, depending. Also, you have to check the standards for your for your data. So if you're working with biodiversity data, you can use Darwin Core or CDataNet or others. Then the vocabulary for the data parameters. And then for data storage and processing and analysis, you have to go through like quality checks of your data. So you also should include that in your data management plan. So if you use some quality flags, or if you see some minor issues or some outliers in the data, you should also include that. And then lastly, you should include the backup, and very important, the contact details of the people that are associated or that work in the data in the different stages. Then we move to data publishing. So here is when metadata gains relevance, and it's very important. We also discussed that yesterday. So you should include in this step metadata standards. So depending on the type of data you work with, you should include maybe the Inspired standard or the ISO, others. Then you should use keywords and vocabulary. So yesterday, Adam shared some links on common vocabularies that you could use. Then you can also include some supporting documents and specify how will your data be published, which services you're going to use. For example, if it's going to be web map service or AirDAP or ArcGIS or others. And then if you did or are going to do any transformation of the data. And lastly, licensing is very important. So it's how people can use your data. Is it going to be open data, or do you have any restrictions or anything particular? It's good that you mention it on the data management plan. In the next step, then you should take into account which parts of the data are going to be stored. So you can either save your whole data sets or the whole data or just parts of it that are relevant. And you should also mention that. Then what is the importance of long-term preservation? What is going to be the plan for it? And then if the license changes, so your license might change between publishing your data and archiving your data. So you should also mention that. And lastly, in these two stages, if you erase data, then you should consider the consequences and how you would inform users that you are deleting the data, because there might be people that use it. And then for data reuse, you should think of other documentation that might be relevant. And also, if you're going to have metrics to monitor who reuses your data and how many people use it. So that might be through citations or DOIs for your data set. So I know this is a lot of information, like in 5 minutes, but don't worry, there are tools that you can use to make your data management plan. The IOC, UNESCO, and us, the DCO for Ocean Data Sharing, with the help of many experts in this matter, we updated the data management plan guidelines this summer. So this is a document that you can use. It has a template. Adam just now sent it on the chat. And then there's also, you can take a look at that because it has mainly just introductory information, but also on each of the spaces, then you'll have more information about different types of standards. For example, if maybe you don't know which standards to use. And then, but there's also some other tools online that you can use, just like the DMP online, which is the link is here. I can send it on the chat later. And that has already templates that can be for different sources of funding or different projects, because that might change also depending. And there's also more information on the Belmont Forum and other sources regarding these data management plans. So thank you very much. Also, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. This is our job, and to support people in data management. So you can scan the QR code. We have some resources in this, and also you can contact us, and we have some information sessions or places that you can go to seek for help. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Margarita, and for showing us also the importance of data management plans and planning ahead, and also the possible scenarios. This was very enlightening. Thank you so much. Now we will dive into the tools and also technologies that help making FAIR principles real. And we will listen from Rita Novo, Project and Data Manager at the Flanders Marine Institute, VLIS. Rita manages data from ocean observing platforms such as autonomous vehicles and gliders, ensuring that data handled and shared accordingly to the FAIR principles. She contributed to EMODNet Physics and currently projects like Aquarius, which promote collaboration and access to marine research facilities. So please, Rita, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Anna. I will share my screen. Can we see the presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks. Thank you so much for the introduction, and also for the invitation as well. My name is Rita, and as Anna said, I will be presenting Fair Data by Design, Smarter Tools for Ocean Observation. And here I will explain a bit more of the work that I do at the MRC, the Marine Robotics Center at Flanders Marine Institute, also known as VLIS. To give an overview of the research infrastructure that we have, and in case you might not know, VLIS or Flanders Marine Institute is a research institute located in the Belgian coast in Ostende. And in order to achieve our research, we have several infrastructure. So we can see here, we have the research vessel Simon Steven, we have a smaller one called Abeman, and then we have several buoys, we have a vibrocorer to take some samples, sediment samples, and more focused on the robotics. We have the autonomous underwater vehicle Barabas. We have the two gliders, Yoko and Tsuno, also autonomous underwater vehicles, but without a propeller. So they work with by using a different mechanism. And then we have two USVs, USV Roblin and Ademar, which are uncrewed or unmanned surface vehicles. We also have what we call here VLIS Subsea Observatory, or as we often call moorings, which is like a metal structure where we put a lot of sensors, and then by using this A-frame in the back of the research vessel, we launch it, it goes to the sea bottom, and because it has a lot of sensors, it can measure currents or the conductivity, and then because of these orange buoys, we can easily, with an acoustic release, we can send like a ping, and then the buoy will pop up, and with a cable, we can retrieve the mooring and we get the data. As we've seen, and as we can see here, we can see some of the deployments that we have been doing throughout the years. We have several partnerships and collaborations with institutes from the Mediterranean. Also, we study not only the Mediterranean, but also the Belgian part of the North Sea. We also do some polar research, as you can see here in this image. So we have different robots, we gather different types of data, and thus we are involved in different type of projects. Because I don't have time to go in detail to all of them, I would like just to highlight the second and the third, which are Aerofleets and Aquarius. Aerofleets is already finished, but Aquarius is a project currently ongoing that people can easily apply by using by having access to a transnational call, and people can apply to use our infrastructure. So they just need to write a project proposal, and we can then can make the collaboration happen. By having a lot of research infrastructure, we have a lot of data, and as we probably know, the ocean is not fully mapped yet. And also we don't want the data for ourselves, so we want to make the data available. And as we've seen yesterday, we want to make the data available in a fair way. So the data has to be findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. So here, our main goal after having the cruise is to turn this data into value. So to give an idea and to give an example of some of the work that we have been doing at the Robotics Center, I would like to present a case study of the UV Barabas. By the way, we name all of our robots after the Belgian comic books because of the cartoons. So this is based on Professor Barabas that you can see here. And we use this as a case study because we started publishing this data, and for that we started mapping all of the sensors. So as you can see here, and what makes this AV special is its modularity. So each one of these lines is a different module, and the hierarchy in the marine robots is more or less we have a module, but then each one of the modules has one or more sensors, and then each one of the sensors can give us one or more variables. So that was the work that we start to do. And that was the first step, to map all of the modules that we have, all of the sensors that we have. And then, for instance, in the Science Bay module, we would have like a CTD. And a CTD stands for conductivity, temperature, and depth. So those would be the variables that we get directly from the sensor that are directly measured. But for instance, from the conductivity, we can derive the salinity. So this is information that we need to know after going on board and deploying the robot. But as important as the data, we also need to have a well documented metadata. And I really like the first cartoon because for me, it can easily happen in a team because, for instance, in our team, we have a very diverse team with different backgrounds and people will have a different skill set. And as you probably know, people can't be on board at the same time. So it's very important that even if the person who was on board or the people who were on board are not the ones processing the data, we need to make sure that when we get the data set, people in the office know what they have to do. So I really like this analogy, and also it's like finding a green glass bottle on top of a table, but you don't know if it is wine, if it is beer, or even sparkling water. So we need to have, in this case, it would be like a bottle label with information of what the bottle contains. So it's more or less with the data. And as we often say, good data tells you what happened, but metadata will tell you the whole story. To give an example of the well-documented metadata, I'm borrowing this slide from NOC, the National Oceanography Center in the UK. And this is more or less the information that we should have in the files. So we should know who collected the data or who was on board, or even who wasn't on board, but who processed the data. And the why answers usually to why did that happen? Why did we go to a specific place and we collected that data? Was it to study microplastics, or was it to study, like as we've done before, like a submarine canyon in the south of Spain? Also very important is the when. So for that, we usually have the time and the date, and also the where with the lat and lon information. Also, how is very often connected to the instruments and the method, because we need to know how the data was collected. Was it used with was it collected with a robot, or with a Van Veen grab, or with if it was like a water sample with an Isking bottle? So also the instruments and the method are very important. And also something that sometimes we often forget is the units, because if we see, for instance, 13.4, we need to know if it is the depth, or if it is salinity, if it is temperature, we need to know. And also connected with the units, we have the quality check that I'm going to explain in 2 slides. Also very important regarding the quality control, and to make sure that we deliver a proper data set. 2 examples of the metadata files that we create are here. On the left-hand side, we have the cruise information, which is often in data management called as the global attributes. So for instance, in this cruise, the project was called Porcupine, and we have an abstract that should answer to who, why, where, when, and how did that happen. And also we can see here in the area it was Porcupine. We have the authors, same thing in the citation, but with the institutions and how the data sets should be cited. Then we also have a DOI, like a paper would get, a digital object identifier. And then something also very important are the conventions that we follow to make sure that the data will then be fair. The creator name, in this case, it will be the institute. And then in this specific case for the AV, we have the data mode, which in this case is the late mode data, because for the AV Barabas, we don't get the data in real time. Also very important, but not as general as the cruise information, we have the variable information. So for instance, for the latitude, we need to follow conventions, such as having the long name specify the standard one. And then what we also did was to find the BODC, the British Oceanographic Data Center identifiers. And in this case, we always have an identifier, as you can see here, for the variable, in this case for the latitude, and also for the the units, in this case, degrees north. So an identifier for the variable and the other one for the units. Something that we need to make sure that we do before making data available and publishing the data is to make sure that we apply a quality control. And this can be by interpolating the data. And as Margarita said and mentioned before, we can remove the spikes. And you can see here, for instance, in these two graphs, we can either do it in a bi-dimensional graph or a three-dimensional plot, but we can see the comparison between the raw and the processed data. So we can see, for instance, for the salinity, we can see that these values were either a sensor glitch or something else that happened, but we store a file with the raw data, but then we also store another one where we remove these values. The same thing with the heave. Heave is associated to the movement of the ship. In this case, it would be the movement of the AUV. This is briefly what we've done for this work. This was a poster that we presented in a conference in Belgium, which was called Towards a Toolbox for Automating DAV Barabas Data Flow, Embracing Fair Principles. This is explained here in this poster with a bit more detail, but it's more or less what I've said in the presentation. You can, of course, check it out, and there's the QR code and the link, but it's essentially the challenge that we were facing of deploying the robot, and then we get it, we retrieve it, hopefully, and then we get the data. But what do we do with the data? We don't want the data to be stored in a drawer for ourselves, so we want to make the data available, but we want to do it well. So in this diagram, we explain the full process from the moment that we get the robot. We usually get the data in a not very human readable format. And then we try to do a conversion initially to CSV, which is a very common and used format. But in order to attach the metadata to the actual data, we decided to use the NetCDF format. So by using then the BODC identifiers from the NOC in the UK, also following ocean best practices, together then with the data center, we create and assign a DOI, the digital object identifier to the data. And then we decided to keep both the raw data and we archive it in an MDA, which is something that you can have access to. And then also we want to go further and to have what we usually call levels of processing, and we follow the ones from EMODNet, and we publish the data in more complex, I would say, data servers or databases such as the ERDAP and EMODNet as well. And the end product and what we wanted to achieve is having the data published and in a fair way. If you would like to know more about, whether it is about the MRC, the Robotics Center, or the FLIS in general, you can check our website, or feel free to send me an email or my team at mrc@flis.ve. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Rita. It was great listening to you. Also, I found very interesting this first infographic that you brought, because it shows also the infrastructure behind data, which sometimes can be invisible if you are working in another area of research, if you are a user of this data that is collected. So thank you so much. You made some parts very visible also with the cartoons. So I find it very interesting. Now we move to the final presentation of the day, because we will hear a bit more from Professor Hugo Sarmento. He will speak about fair and care principles and highlight the inclusion in global ocean science. Also, Professor Sarmento is an aquatic ecologist who leads the Laboratory of Microbial Processes and Biodiversity. He participated in major global expeditions such as Tara Oceans and Malaspina, and coordinates Brazil's involvement in the AtlantECO project, an EU-funded project, and the South American Ocean Sampling Day. So today he will be speaking more about filling the southern gap, fair and care, pathways towards inclusive global ocean science. So Professor Hugo Sarmento, up to you. Hugo, I think we cannot hear you or see you.
Can you hear me?
Now we see you. Thank you.
Is good?
Yes.
And the presentation as well. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks for the introduction. So today I'm going to talk you about, my name is Hugo Sarmento, first of all. I'm a professor in Brazil at UFSCar. I will present you some ideas and reflections from the AtlantECO project, an European project, as Ana Victoria said. And the reflection I want to bring up, the question is if we can really truly call data fair if the sampling doesn't go according to ethical principles. Okay, so let's go a little bit to the sampling and to the data collection before we publish or we produce the data itself. So first, I'm going to talk about molecular data on the ocean, marine metagenomics, which is I think is a good example of fair and trust principles in data sharing, in most cases. And it all started in 2007, more or less, around these years, when the guy called Craig Venter, you probably heard of him, he had sailing boats, and he developed a machine that to sequence DNA for the human genome. And he decided to sequence a sample from the ocean. And it was the cover of PLOS Biology. But the problem, he made a big noise at that time. He started a global expedition in his sorcerer's sailing ship. But the thing is, it was a private company, so the Craig Venter Institute. So this raised some concerns about what he would do with the data, which was actually a human collective common, right? So this triggered several reactions. Okay, sorry, oops, back. Is a little bit slow. Okay, so at that in 2009 and 2013, Etienne Bourgeois is the head of the TAR Foundation, and Eric Carcenti was the idealizer of the expedition. You probably heard about Tara Oceans. It was a big project of circumnavigation to sequence the genes of the ocean, and is an excellent example how to share the data with the world, because there are many papers published with the Tara Oceans database that at the time was quite big. And I was lucky to be involved in that project since the beginning. This is being leg one of the cruise. So a lot of data was produced, and it was quite a big success. A lot of nice papers published in Science by the TARA consortium, and then by many other people that used the data because the data were open and shared, and people could use it very easily. So TARA is a good example of fair and trust and care data sharing. But then we realized that most of the people almost all of the papers that were published with the TARA consortium were actually from the north and not from the countries that we have visited. And I know that the idea on the beginning of Eric was to involve researchers from the countries that the TARA would visit, but this didn't really work quite well. So in a parallel, there was science diplomacy that was going on, of course. So this paper tells us the story of ocean science diplomacy with different treaties. And we got to this more or less 2000, I think to 2017, when the Galloway Statement was going to be renewed, and and there was an election of Trump. And I think, I'm not sure it's because of this, but coincidentally, with the presidency of Portugal, a treaty was signed called the Belém Treaty, where there's calls from the European Union to collaboration between the European Union, Brazil, and South Africa, where the AtlantECO project was one of the projects approved. So the idea was a big consortium of 36 universities from Europe, Brazil, and South Africa. And the idea was more or less to fix that problem that we had in Tara, that the South was not really involved in the data exploration. So we produce a lot of data in AtlantECO, mostly in the southern hemisphere. The Tara came to Brazil, to African coast. We did a lot of capacity building, and it was really a nice project. We co-designed the sampling and the experiments, so it was really a good example of nice collaboration, North-South and South-South collaboration. So Tara was one of the ships that participated in this project. This is the way that it did in the South Atlantic, the sampling points and the people on board. So all the data from the projects this is our data management plan. So here have the data type, all the archives are public. Then we did the annotations also with some tools that then produce the maps and the products that derived from those data were also disseminated in public databases according to FAIR principles, as you all know. I think that molecular data is one of the areas of research where this kind of thing is quite well established, because you cannot publish a paper without depositing the sequences. So we also produced one policy brief and one paper that I will share with you. Is more or less about the same topic, which is, among other things, is this North-South collaboration and the Southern Gap. What we call the Southern Gap is the vast regions of the Southern Hemisphere that are still underexplored. So if you look at the number of papers or number of citations, you see that most of them are mostly in the Northern Hemisphere, with high-income countries, of course, in that production, because it's oceanography is very expensive science. While if you look at the area of the ocean, we have a much higher percentage of ocean in the south than in the north. And here in the right, you have the number of samples of marine metagenomics. And you see there are mostly in the Northern Hemisphere and a lot of them in Australia as well. But you see vast areas of the Southern Hemisphere with almost no data available. So the thing is, we have to explore those regions more. But of course, we want to include the countries from the south, which in general are low or middle income countries, called the mix here. So this creates often a problem of ethical problem. I just made a search yesterday on Amazon plume, Amazon river plume, and the papers from the last 2 years, and you see that more than half of them have, such as I've chosen these ones, but there are much more that has absolutely no people from the south, only people from high-income countries from the Northern Hemisphere. So that is an ethical problem. Imagine if you are from France and a team of Brazilians or South Africans come with a ship and sample in the plume of the River Seine, or in the Delaware estuary, or in, I don't know, somewhere in the north, and then publish the data, it will be quite weird, right? So that's what happened here in the Amazon plume, and also in Benguela upwelling, and in other sites. So we actually did some analysis on the literature on this, and we see that more than half of the papers on the Amazon plume have no authors from Brazil, Guyana, French Guiana, Suriname, or Venezuela, which are the countries that neighbor the Amazon plume. And the Benguela upwelling is practically the same. Half of the papers, absolutely no involvement of people from the surrounding countries. So this is called parachute science. You probably have heard of it, or helicopter science. So in summary, it's just don't be a jerk. You can read this paper and find very, very nice inspiration, I think, to know how to deal with this when you go to take samples in very far away from where you are based. So there is a big increase in the demand on the access to ocean resources, can be materials, food, or just for space and geopolitics and so on. In all these elements has been increasing. This paper describes this very well on minerals, on hydrocarbons, and so on. So there's a big pressure on the ocean. And if you look at the places where there are laws and treaties, these laws are mostly in the economic exclusive zone, which is 300 miles from the coast. And these light blue areas here is called the high seas. There are almost no laws regarding the high seas, while this pressure is increasing. So recently there has been an effort on the UN level. There is this BBNG treaty. BBNG stands for Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, which is these light blue areas. So this treaty has been signed by 134 countries and has been ratified by almost 50. It's quite recent, so it's in the way. And why I'm telling you this? Because one of the aspects of this BBNG is the DSIs. DSIs is digital sequence information, which is this nucleotide, omics data that are available in the databases. So we can easily go there, take some sequences, put it in some bacteria that grows in a lab. It's very easy to do now. We take some gene from the Amazon, we put it in a bacteria. Even if we are in Japan, we can make patents and earn a lot of money with the commercialization. So this BBNG creates a framework to share these revenues with more ethically and more in a better way. So there's a nice book about this. There are several ways of doing this benefit sharing that we call, is now in discussion. And why does this happen? Sadly, Brazil has a long tradition on biopiracy. We have many species that has been brought. People take here and go abroad and then make patents. For example, this is a chocolate made from cupuaçu. It's a fruit from the Amazon and has been deposited the trademark in Japan. So it's very is one of the latest examples of this. So Brazil built a very strong and very one of the most developed legislations against biopiracy. So we have these two systems, the CISBio and SINGEN, that were actually the base for the BBNG treaty and the benefit sharing and so on. And I participated in that somehow. So one of the things, and I'm almost finishing, that will be implemented with the BBNG is this funding mechanisms where the money from the royalties and also from volunteers that want to add to this fund will be applied to a fund that then will be applied to capacity building and to develop countries, leagues and countries from the south and also to support conservation and sustainable use by indigenous peoples and so on. So the take-home message: fair, care, and trust aren't just principles that you put on your data management plan, you put on your projects, and then you are happy with this. You also have to apply this all throughout your research, from experimental design to sampling to analysis and publication, and really involve people from the locations where you take the samples. They define what responsible science looks like. So thank you very much. And I'll leave my contact on the chat in case you have some questions. And I leave also the links for the papers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hugo, also for bringing this context of science diplomacy behind the efforts of the project, but also the importance of co-designing with local researchers. And it's a shame that it does not happen with this frequency yet, but we hope the scenario can change. We will also, just a reminder, because Hugo mentioned it about a policy brief. We will share this material later with you. So we will have a folder in which you will have some of those extra materials that the speakers are mentioning, and this will later serve for your future improvement in this area, or if you want to deepen your knowledge about the principles, also to know about other projects happening like AtlantECO, you will be able to read those materials. Now we will open for questions and answers. So you can either put your question in the chat directly. I think Dina, if you saw some question, I will kindly ask you to bring it to the audience. But if you wish, also you can open your microphone directly and bring your questions to the speakers. So I kindly ask also the speakers to be aware, because some question might be directly addressed to you. So Dina, just to know, do we have any interesting question from the chat?
Actually, today less than yesterday, even though we are 150 people right now on the call. I did pick up on an interesting topic, which I think also interesting for myself, is the bias in metadata. So we heard about metadata standards, and somebody made a comment that the metadata has to be neutral as possible, factual. Can the speakers elaborate a little bit how they can see bias appearing, what examples they can give of this, and yeah, obviously how to overcome it? Whoever starts first.
I can start.
Go ahead.
So as I said, I work a lot with genomic data. It's one of the areas where this is more organized because they're more recent, so easy, and they did it well since the beginning. But there are some tricks. So there are colleagues, unfortunately, that put their sequences on the databases, but in such a way that no one can use it. For example, you don't match the sequence with the sample location, or you don't match the sequence with the environmental data because there is in a different data sets. So when you deposit the sequence, not all the metadata will be in the same database that is done for genomic sequences. Sometimes temperature or salinity will be in another database with environmental data, and you need to merge these two. So Tara Oceans did, as I said, was a good example. I think they set the standards for many of those things because of the history of the private sector that started to sequence the genes of the oceans. Then the Tara decided to do it in a public way for the humanity. So I think this is a good example how to share data.
Thank you. Maybe Margarita, Rita, do you have anything to add on the subject of bias in data?
Well, I think yes, you said it happens. And one of the, also besides what Hugo mentioned, one of the things that I think are key is to follow some of the guidelines that already exist and provide like the complete information. It's not like we said, metadata is information about the data, but we do require, as Rita mentioned in the graphic of Metin, we do require some parameters and some clear statements of who collected it, where was it, where are the, so you can follow the whole trace of the data. So there are many guidelines from repositories that offer that, and I think the best thing also is to just follow and also look for help if you don't know how to, then yeah.
I see a question from the chat. So this is for Hugo. What do you think of using marine citizen science data to fill the southern gap?
It's one of the ways, yes, to involve people. But well, in this paper in particular, we focus a lot on sequencing, DNA sequencing, which is not cheap, is very expensive. That's why there is this imbalance between high-income countries and low-income countries. We discussed that in the paper. There are not many facilities in the south that can do this kind of thing. So as long as it is not only providing samples, of course, for citizens is one thing, is a little bit different, but for collaborations, what we try to avoid is just to be sample providers. You know, it's always better to be involved in the design, in the development, in the writing, in the analysis. And as much as possible in AtlantECO, for example, with all the samples taken in the southern Atlantic were sequenced in Brazil or South Africa. We didn't send the samples to Europe to sequence. That allowed us to build facilities, to share protocols, and that is really, really important because we involve students and local researchers. You strengthen the local networks of researchers to create more critical mass. That's what we need. So as far as possible, try to involve and also to ask local people's priorities. Sometimes it happens that the priorities are not the same, so the co-designing of the study is also interesting. Sometimes people from the, I don't know, from the mangroves have different, are not so worried about climate change because they don't have good water, for example, to drink. So we have to always try to combine those two dimensions of the research we do also, I would say, as far as possible. So yeah, it's a complex issue, but always be aware of it and think about it and reflect about it is very important. Thank you, Justin, for your question.
Any other question?
I actually wanted to ask in a tour de table all the three speakers. So we are having this training. There are many other trainings, of course. There are university programs. First, is there what is your observation? Is the fairness and careful handling of the data, the principles we're discussing this week, is it generally increasing, or you still think the situation is dire? And second, what if you had to name top three of what has to happen to improve the situation, if it has to be improved? Perhaps we could start with Margarita and Rita and Hugo in this order.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, so lately we've seen some like trainings and great initiatives that aim to create a bit more awareness on what fair, care, and trust are. And I think that's very important, but I also feel that in some cases it is just seen as just a requirement. Yeah, like a list, fair, findable. Okay, I put it in a repository and that's findable. But as I showed in one of the slides, there are many other steps that you should take into account, and it's rather than one step, it's a process. And I think, as Hugo mentioned, sometimes people focus only on, yeah, my data is fair, but is my whole research fair? Is my publication fair? Care is also something very important that I think needs to gain more relevance. And we know it from like, I come from a country that has lots of indigenous knowledge and local knowledge, and that we see the importance, but sometimes in other places it's not. It's just a requirement to make my research more care, but then how do you make it like that, you know? And I think, and then it's steps to do. I think it's just continue, yeah, to just training people and creating awareness, but also to really sit down as a community and think about, like, what is really fair, like what steps we can do to make it like a common statement. I think that's very much needed, and so people can, we all have the same concept, and it's not like a concept that it changes according to area or to place. So yeah.
Thank you. Rita, you have anything to add?
Yeah, sure. I think I completely agree, and most of the things that I was going to say were already said by Margarita. But I think that most of the courses and the trainings are already including in this, even this one that we are at now, are great initiatives. So even people that are not data managers can know what to do with the data, and we often feel that, I think, most of the work needs to be learned on the job. So every time that we have like a project proposal and we need to write a data management plan, a DMP, sometimes I feel that people write it, then we submit the proposal, and that's it. And it's not as it should be. So the data management plan is something that in the beginning we don't know exactly. So it's a proposal, and the same with the project proposal, but it's something that needs to be updated as we go. So it's not something to be static, as it was done in the beginning of the project, that we didn't even know if the project was going to be approved or not. And something that I would like to add is, at FLIS, we are a very international institute. I'm from Portugal and I'm working in Belgium. And I can see that in different people, we are very diverse, but also the collaborations that we have. We work with a lot of institutes, like Spanish institutes, also Portuguese institutions. So we have a lot of collaborations, and in that sense, I want to believe that we are helping people to know, even if, let's say, if the institution don't have a data center, we can try to help with that. So it's something that we collaborate to have then the data available. So it doesn't have to be one institution or the other. It's something that we try to teach each other in order to have the data available.
Thanks very much. It's also interesting. I find what you say is not only people who are directly handling the data that have to be aware of data management and the importance of proper data management, but the whole universe of different people who are dealing with marine science in one way or the other. So actually, it's an issue for everybody to consider.
Yes, indeed.
Hugo, you are the last one, so
Yeah.
the toughest task, I know.
I don't want to monopolize the discussions, but yeah, I think you ask if I feel there's been an improvement, maybe because I'm older. Yes, there has been an improvement, because 20 years ago, we didn't even had to put the data anywhere. I remember going to the publication, clicking in the graphs to extract the data. There was some software to do that, to make revisions and so on. Luckily now is not like that. I think there's been a lot of improvements. There's a lot to do, and it's something that you can never forget, and there's always room to improvement. is not perfect, but I mean, even the funding agencies now require those data management plans. The most difficult thing, I think someone mentioned before, I think Rita says this idea as well, is that it's not just something that you put on the paper. It must be something that you really exercise and do it for real in the whole process. It's not saying, okay, I'm going to put this in some database. It's much more than that. So that I think that's the thing that we need to pass. That's my point. Thank you.
I see another question. We have actually 3, but one of them I will bring to you now. So there is a question in the chat asking how, while marine data is becoming more fair care and trust aligned, it still feels inaccessible to non-scientists, especially policymakers, investors, and community leaders who need to act on it. From your perspective, what more can be done to make marine data not just technically available, but actually usable for other processes, decision-making and policy design by non-science practitioners? Please, you can go ahead. Who feels more comfortable to respond?
I can try. So I think one of the issues that I realized after I started with this job is that people sometimes, as Dina just said, like we think data management and data in general is just for technical people, and then the others just think that they need to have some sort of deep knowledge to be able to manage it. But I think that also comes from the data management community, that we need to make our data more friendly and more like ocean literacy, that you need to put your data in a more friendly way, more accessible, so people that are not trained as scientists can also understand it, because I think that at the end that's the impact that you need to have, and that should be one thing of your, like, one good thing of data. And one thing that from the DCO, we've been thinking a lot on this storytelling, and I know that tomorrow there's going to be some speakers on that, which is really good, and how sometimes we as scientists have maybe a bit of an issue on doing like accessible storytelling, and that it's also some skills that we should train. And I talk about like my personal experience because I struggle sometimes with that. But it's also key when you work, like as Rita said, in an international team and an interdisciplinary team, that you learn from your co-workers that maybe are not scientists, but they work in science communication or in other areas. So yeah, it's just working with other people and try to make data more friendly and nice, so people can feel like attracted to it.
Thank
I
you.
think
We had last month
Sorry.
a training for marine scientists to be better ocean communicators and ocean literacy practitioners. So we will release it any day now on the Eurogoose YouTube channel. So follow our social media and you will be able to view the training. It was very interesting to see how much first thirst to be better communicators scientists have. Everybody, actually, it's quite widely recognized in scientific community. On the other hand, how many approaches they can be to share marine science, and you don't have to be necessarily a super gifted designer or I don't know, or telling jokes all the time or doing something extraordinary. Very often your passion and your own interest in the topic is a fantastic channel to engage people you're talking with. So those things we were discussing last month, and you can rewatch this training. Actually was a 3-day training like this one, but on marine science communication and ocean literacy. So Anna, we have some more questions, I know, but I wonder if this one, if anybody else from the speakers want to address it as well, or we just move on.
I just wanted to add something pretty fast. I think the way to go would be science communication and also outreach events. And I would like to give an example of citizen science that we have at FLIS. Sorry, I'm not trying to promote FLIS, but I think this is really a good example. In March, I think there's something that I would say it's translated to the Great Shell Day. So both, I think in France, in Belgium, and in the Netherlands, we have people with a small bucket coming to the beach, and then they have to do like a spiral in the sand, and they have to collect 100 shells. And that helps. They are not scientists, they are citizens, but that helps to involve people in different type of initiatives. And in the end, they will know more or less how to characterize the coast, the French, the Belgian, and the Dutch coast. And I think this is a great example. It's also data, but people, by collecting the shells, are helping us, and without maybe realizing they are making a great contribution to science.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Rita. When I saw this question, actually, I thought ocean literacy because it's it's the bridge that we need for translating data to other sectors, but especially policy, which is so important. I have another question here. So, do you think it would be better for marine data to be reviewed by a multidisciplinary committee before sharing rather than by a single discipline, in order to gain multiple perspectives, improve the quality of the work, and encourage more critical and diverse ideas? Who would like to take this one?
Sometimes it is not easy. So it depends a lot on the type of data. If you're not familiar with metagenomics, for example, it would be very difficult to have something to say if you are from physicists or something like that. We try to dialogate, to make dialogues and exchange, but only for that deposit data, I don't see it very easy to be done. But it depends on the type of data.
Thank you. We have another. Do you have reliable data? Now, to have reliable data, what is the best method we can use for data standardization, size, structures, and production of marine species? Who would like to reply to this one?
No one. I can give you the Tara example. It's not exactly for size and production, but one of the big things from Tara was the standardized protocols, because there were many cruises around the world doing omics already at that time. But one uses one protocol, the other one uses another one size fraction, one extraction protocol. And the Tara did all the same protocol in all the oceans. And then it became like the standard for everyone, or for most of the people. So I think standardization exercises are very important on these kind of things.
Well,
that's it. I won't speak anymore.
Thank you, Hugo. I don't know if we have. We have no, we don't. I don't think we have another question. So I would suggest us to move to our Mentimeter, because we have now an interactive session. I will be sharing now with you this code that you can use to join us in Mentimeter. So you can either scan the code or type menti.com and use this code directly on your browser. So I will give you some minutes so you can join us. And I will also copy now the link directly to the chat so you can join us while I present. Dina did it. Thank you so much, Dina. So I will bring you a bit of this discussion. 1 second, I will share my screen. So yes, our first question is related to what is your main takeaway from yesterday and today? So what have you learned so far? Why for you this discussion is important? If you could bring to this word cloud, but I can see the word engaging is appearing quite in a quite big size. So it means that for many of you, engaging is an important takeaway from those 2 days. Sharing, transparency, importance of sharing, accessibility, insightful, quality data, transparency, fair care is a process. So we see that, yes, you were able to reflect a lot on those, respect, on those concepts that we brought, be ethical, data sharing, collaboration, co-designing. So all of those concepts we touched on those days, and we see that for you, ocean literacy. So we see that for you, those are our main takeaways from those days, right? Quality data, life cycle, transparent process. So I will move to our next question. So we would like to know from you, in your opinion, why fair care and trust are important. Bring to us your ideas, because we would like to listen, to know more about what you have learned on those days and the importance it poses also to your research. So we see global collaboration to reach more people, for example, citizens, alignment of data quality to improve knowledge, sustainability, standardized processes, to improve science, to promote ethical research, to collaboration, data comparison, greater understandings, share ethically, advance science, to keep everyone informed and updated on what is happening, sharing ideas. It's what a bit of what Katrina presented yesterday, right? So especially when we have research funded by public funds, so it's important to bring this somehow back to society. Global collaboration, because it gives reliability again. International collaboration, we saw from Google, right? The importance of international collaboration.
I like the one just to be just. It's
exactly.
Beautiful alliteration and well said.
And also to make sure everyone understands and talk the same language on ocean knowledge. So again, standard processes, global collaboration to avoid the bias, share ethically, be correct, more global understanding. So it's fantastic, the insights that you are bringing to facilitate real sustainable development, give back to people and society, community rights. Thank you so much for your insights. Those are fantastic. Fantastic to know that you are taking also those message homes. And we also would like to know which ideas or knowledge from this training you will be using straight away. So right when we finish this training, of course, we still have more 2 days, but we would like to know what you will be taking to your research, to your institution, to your studies. So what is the concept that you will be applying? Data collection, sharing data responsibly, collaboration, success work for stakeholders, ethics, and DMP. Thank you, Margarita, for that. Data management plan again. We can now improve our data handling, planning data use before a project, collaboration. I see a lot, right? So I think the data management plan was a very good insight from all of you as well. It appears many times.
We had great
Collaboration.
guidelines today on a good DMP from everybody, and I think this is really, really useful. You can
Exactly. More comprehensive metadata to help future use of the data. DMP again, collaboration, better quality of data, access to the various platforms and better communication of the results, discovering data management, using data for policy making. Again, another discussion that we had today. Fair data for ocean regenerative solutions. Fantastic. In my new project on turtle habitats, wow, so you will be using that in your project. That's very good. I will pass to our next.
There is one more there. And
sorry.
think about data before you start the project. It's not an afterthought, not even a thought at the moment, but has to be a thought before. I think this is really, really important message. Rita also brought through quite well.
Exactly.
Okay, yes, we can.
Planning, right? Yeah. So I will be sharing now with you this QR code, because yesterday Dina mentioned the EU for Ocean Coalition, this series of events that we are organizing. So this training, it's done in the context of the EU for Ocean Coalition. And in the EU for Ocean Coalition, there is also one aspect of this project, which is the EU for Ocean Forum. It's a community nurtured by the coalition. There, it's a forum where you can, of course, network to other youth professionals, also understand what other people are doing in other parts of the world. So we leave also for you this QR code, so you can read a bit more about the forum, also understand how to join and how to be engaged with this community. It would be very good for you also if you can later discover more about this opportunity. And now, to close this session, I would like to invite again Juana Jimenez. We spoke yesterday. I think you probably remember of her. And Juana will, she's from the VLIS, so the Flanders Marine Institute, and she will wrap up the today's session to us. Please, Juana.
Thank you, Anna. And not so easy to do with a lot of great notes, a lot of information. Thank you again to all the speakers for the presentations. It was very insightful, and you can see from the comments on the chat that there were new ideas and a good perspective that you shared. So we started with what is a great data management plan, as Margarita presented, and we have this strongly suggested is a different type of data and that can be used. For example, the citizen science data, as how we are talking about. So this a plan can bring your project and your ideas to be more integrated, to forward more to this global collaboration and to immerse it. So it actually opens more opportunities for you. And as it was shared also in the chat, but we will make sure that you also have the links to the DCO on data sharing, because they have a lot of guidance and resources on how you can apply a good data management plan. And I will repeat again, they invite you to join the community of practice that they have in LinkedIn, so you can be in touch with them and prepare, because they are having a webinar soon as well. So you can follow up and join these more hands-on sessions. And then we'll go, like Rita gave us a good example on how we are having a look to how the data is collected. And as Anna was mentioning, we're having this good perspective of what is going to, how is be on board, how we have to think as well in all the different stages and how the data is processing, but not only who is collecting it, who is on board. And this also applies a good approach when we are working with different disciplines. And I think all of us here are in this mood of being open collaboration and open sharing, and as international and different disciplines brings this great spark in the team. But it also forces us to think about, like, we are all in the same page, especially when we're talking about the metadata. And Hugo, thank you so much for the presentation. It was great to see, like, as well, which are the challenges, but I also hear and look from the perspective of people of what we can do. And I think that's is opening another world of discussion on how we can create more awareness, so everyone it's involved from the beginning. As we keep repeating, it's not only one step, but is leading us to a change of behavior, I would say, that as the speakers are mentioning it, and how we can be combining it not only with the technical skills that we're talking about, but also with other soft or transferable skills. And this leads me to our day 3 tomorrow, because we're going to talk about these tools and how to make our data and the knowledge like more immersed with other disciplines, and to go out, outside this ocean science bubble. So with that, I will lead to Anna or Dina to just finalizing, closing the day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Juana. Please, Dina, over to you so you can present day 3 and 4.
What's ahead of us. Thank you very much. Yes, Juan, it was really great recap of the day. I really enjoyed it very much. I'm sharing now the slides and not in the right way. And I will manage eventually. Just a second.
We don't see it. We see as your presenter mode.
Working.
Now it works.
Okay.
Now it does. Okay. The trick is to duplicate the screen and not to swap the view. Well, tomorrow we will actually dive into a little bit more of fair data with citizen science from Charlotte de Haan, who will be telling us about the different standards and sharing practices. From fisheries science with Lancelot Blondel from Research Institute for Agriculture and Food in Belgium, who will tell us about, excuse me, sorry, I did something wrong. I think now, and duplicate. So who will tell us more about fisheries data and how it can be used, and what kind of tools and applications you can derive from that. We will also hear about some of the trainings and capacity development activities which are organized in the European Union by the Blue Cloud project, Blue Cloud 26 from Cyril Delven. It's a very interesting virtual labs process that you will learn about tomorrow. Then from Andrew King, we will see some examples of how real-time data that is acquired actually on ferry boxes can be used to demonstrate to the public who are taking ferries to go from one place to the other, what kind of tools there are to be able to access to data directly, more or less. So as it comes, as it is being acquired, at the same time, almost it becomes visible to the public, and it's a really interesting tool, and probably Andrew will share some other perspectives as well with us. Then we will also have a bit more from the EU for Ocean Coalition from Natalie Van Iseka, who will tell us about the initiative here in Europe we have, which is called European Atlas of the Seas. And it's also a visualization tool which helps connect the different dots on the map of Europe, but also broader than that. And what kind of tools that provides us in terms of telling the story of data, showing some some things that are covered behind the data, but showing it to public, the general public, to educators, to children, to policymakers. And Miguel Lil will also go a little bit deeper into infographics and how to create stories from data. This is something that is really interesting, and already was raised today, and it's raised more or less at every data conference or data discussions I attend, how to make a story out of data, that data is not only for science, but also for engagement and information sharing. And finally, we also have from Hiat Eng, Tidal Arts EU project, something where they try to connect art and data. So art is another way of knowing, and data as a scientific way or academic way of knowing, and how we can connect those two together. So a very interesting program tomorrow. Come back and I will give you a preview of the next day. That's going to be our final day. On Friday, we will hear more about the impact of data from Adam Leadbetter from the DCO on ocean data sharing. We will also understand a little bit better the United Nations ideas about BBNJ, Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Treaty, which Hugo already covered upon. So we will dive deeper into this topic and also learn about the clearinghouse mechanism that the UN want to set up. From Steve Hall from CBAT 2030, we will hear about mapping and mathematical data and how also industry can become a collaborator on that. And then Global Fishing Watch will be very exciting to see how fisheries data can be more fair, more equitable, and yeah, we will hear from Luca Manzagna about that. And at the end of the day, of course, Juana, myself, and Ana Vittoria, we will close the day, and we will give you some links to the post-event survey, which you can fill out. And if you have attended all the 4 days and you have filled out the survey and requested a certificate, we will deliver a certificate from this training. So you can bring it to your university if you had to take this time from your classes, so you use it as a for your employment or any other purposes. We will also have some interactive sessions as every day, like today, like yesterday, in the coming days, so we can always keep in touch with you and exchange and share and learn from each other.